Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Ignite podcast. Today, I've been joined by Michael Berger. Mate, welcome to the call.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. I'm glad to be on it. Esteemed company, I understand.
Mate, apparently. Mate, so tell us a bit about you, your journey so far.
Yeah, look, I suppose through it, I was Sunshine Coast, Brisbane, with no university on the Sunshine Coast back in those days, but there was colour TV. I did a Bachelor of Business and then took the well-worn path to the smoggy lights of London, and really I turned up there and with a degree and a few years' experience in Australia. But and some of my mates were engineers, and they were all working at a recruitment agency in London called Anders Elite. They'd gone there to get jobs as engineers, but then they were convinced to become recruiters, and that was a great experience. I obviously got a job there, and with no recruitment experience, and that was the greatest experience of my life, because we were in London. There was about 80 people in the office, 60 were Antipodeans. We were all in our 20s and recruiting, in the engineering sector in London. So with a Bachelor of Business in my hand, not knowing what I want to do, it was a perfect match for me. And that was sort of in the early 2000s, so I'm still in the industry.
Yeah, good, mate. And what made you dive into that industry in the first place?
Yeah, look, it was
passion for it.
Look, it was an opportunity thing. They were working there; they were having a fantastic time. Look, it was better paying than a pub job in London, or they seemed to be doing well. So I joined them, and then I just realised quite quickly that it was the perfect match for me. You were dealing with people. We were dealing with the team I was in was all London Underground, so we were on the panels to service them, all their engineering resources, and you were dealing with pretty high-powered clients, demanding, but probably the best. And there was elements of business. We would negotiate, obviously, with the individuals, with the companies, and I just thought it tied in nicely to who I was and what I liked. All the different characters you'd meet. And the thing in London, it was heavily contract-driven, so everyone was on hourly rate. They were either working on some new tube lines, or so they worked. They worked actually for the individual before the company, so they would refer to me as their, not so much employer, but we were the ones that got them the jobs, their next job. So you really built a really good community, and that was really important. And some of those contractors that I had are still, we're still in contact today. Because they trusted you to be the eyes and ears in the industry, and that was a really important thing, and you took ownership over that.
Yeah, good.
We treated it really seriously. So developed a really good community of engineers in the sector that I was looking after. So so that was where it started, and that was and then the rest back to Brisbane, and continued with the business here in Brisbane, managing that. And we built that up from it was one employee. We ended up with about 10 employees and had over 100 contractors in Brisbane.
Yeah, wow.
That was during that sort of the CSG, that coal seam gas sort of period. So, and then obviously started my own business in 2015.
Yeah, mate, I saw that. That's, you must, you're coming up, what's that, 6 years, 7 years?
Geez.
Or maybe even, how's that going?
Mate, it's, look, it's 6, 7 years. It's, look, I think once you get in any business, once you get over, my journey was, once you get over 18 months, you could never go back to being an employee. It was that point where what it gives you as far as freedom and the ability to write your own script, to think, to go back to work with someone on an employee relationship, where you do everything to fight, not to say that
and clear.
Yeah, not like I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think just on my journey, that what it gave me was that to do everything how you wanted to do it. So certainly the first 18 months and 2 years, and there's constant challenges.
Yeah.
So and it's more a confidence thing, I think, in the early days. Can I do this? Is this going to am I going to survive? And then I think your confidence says, well, I've still got this far. Someone is actually paying me for this. And they're kind of repeat customers. So it's like, geez, this is serious. But yeah, certainly the first 2 years, mate, I remember walking around the city at lunch, you sort of look at people and go, oh, they're so happy they get paid every fortnight. I might have to go back to that lifestyle.
Yeah.
They can do, 9 to 5, they get paid on the same day. Well, wow, what a concept.
Yeah, mate, I often say to my coaching clients who are business owners or, directors or shareholders that, the business owner space is the world's biggest personal development program you could ask for. So, yeah, mate, it's crazy. So what have been some of your highs in terms of, your business career to date?
Yeah, look, I think when I started the business, I had a pretty clear idea. Up until that point, the first 14 years was dealing with pretty large organisations in London and with the business that I ran when I came back. So the BHPs, the QTCs, all these big clients. And I know when I started as one man in a room, you can't work with those clients and I didn't actually want to sort of go into that space. So I had a pretty clear idea of sort of working with SMEs, medium-sized businesses, and dealing with the owners and directors of those businesses who are really passionately in tune with where they want to go. And if you can form a partnership with that on the same wavelength, you can only win, I think, with the approach that certainly I have to those. Like I said, with the contractors in London, there was always long-term relationships, long game. A lot of recruiters in that industry can be very transactional, sending CVs around, quick wins, but that wasn't what I was about. So the target was to get with clients that you can eyeball the owners and just and be that trusted advisor, and that was the satisfaction I got out of it. So dealing with large companies, it clearly was there was a lot of waste, and I'd look back at the times that we were on these big panels and it just wasn't efficient. So I was clear with that, and that's evolved. And like you said, self-development, that evolves right now. I mean, we're about to do our first sort of, we're sort of taking the recruitment piece into the marketing world and assisting the clients with employee, video content,
right?
Really shine a light on what makes them special. And so we're about to do that next few weeks with videographer with one of our clients and really dive into some of their employees' real success stories. And I think that's the crux of why someone wants to join somewhere. It's the ad on Seek and that generic copy that you've seen in this market now. You've seen it. Yeah, Seek are doing real well. So it's just trying to modernise what companies are doing, how they're going to reach out to people, and and that's part of the involvement of what we're doing now with different clients and that long-term game.
So, mate, I'm keen to continue that thread of conversation around what you're doing with clients and sort of recommendations and I guess advice to companies that are recruiting in this market. But I want to park that and come back to something that you said, because I'm curious to just hone in on you and your business journey, which is you said something that really resonates with me, and I talk to my clients a lot about it, which is like playing the long game and having that strategic plan in place for where you want to go, and have that is kind of like I refer to it with my clients as your North Star in terms of that sort of this is where I'm going. I know it's going to take me 2 to 3 to 5 years, but I know if I stick to my game plan that it will work out for me. And if I take consistent action on a daily basis towards that, I know I'll get there. Versus that sort of short-term, quick win kind of mentality. I mean, tell me a bit more about that and why that's so important for you to play that longer game as opposed to the quick wins.
Yeah, look, I think right now in this market now, you could go out and get. And look, we've had heaps of inquiries this year and obviously late last year from clients I've never spoken to, calling in, we want you to do work with us, and you do get caught by the shiny lights and maybe follow a few of those up and find out what it is, but all you're doing is just spreading yourself thinner to service those ones that stood by you in the first, the very first client we've got is we run all their recruitment. So, and I think you just got to stick with that. Like if I'm spreading the net, and look, that's obviously adding staff in my team and we can possibly follow some of those up, but really it's led to not getting the great results for the ones that have trusted. So I think that's, look, as far as strategic planning and look, a North Star, I've got some strong ideas, I've got a business advisor, but look, I think it's just staying present in the current moment. It's what we've got to deal with and trying to really satisfy and make those current customers that have really stood by you super happy that they're never going to actually even conceive looking anywhere else. So I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, there's a lot of shining lights out there to go and chase, but you've got to be disciplined just to, that'll come, right?
That's right, yeah. And I'm glad you brought up that word, which is discipline, which is, so it's important to have that longer term vision. Where am I going and my why in terms of why is that important to me? Why does that get me excited? Why do I get out of bed every morning? But then to have that discipline every day to take that consistent action towards that North Star or what you're trying to create it's a really challenging place to be, because you get knocked off, you get pushed sideways, you get a bright and shiny opportunity that presents itself. And do you use that sort of North Star to make decisions in terms of where you're taking things? Like if you've got a big business decision or a bright and shiny comes your way, do you use that sort of North Star to help you reorientate yourself and answer the question about which way do I go here?
Yeah, definitely, mate. You just you've got to learn by mistakes here. And last year was the perfect example. I went off and you're flattered by getting a call from someone that maybe was referred. And look, you clearly, you're professional, and I'll talk to the clients, the ones that approach you that maybe, and be professional about it. But I think I learned the lesson that, as I said, you chase something else and then trusted a client that's put all this effort into you, and you start to fall down in that area, and then you're trying to set it. So I learned the lesson last year that I'll talk to the clients and try to advise them, but I'll just be upfront with them that we're flat out at the moment and we're not going to be able to satisfy what they're looking for us to do to the best of our ability. If you're happy, set some parameters around it. And I think people that in engineering, I think people are pretty down to earth. A lot of the clients in construction engineering, that if you're straight up with them, they're busy people, they're going to respect that. And maybe at a later date, when there is more capacity, they would take your call, or they would respect you looking to catch up with them, right?
Yeah.
But keeping that sort of North Star about servicing those clients, and it's this age-old saying in business, isn't it? Where you can grow what your existing clients, so that the future growth, and you're staring at it right now.
Yep.
And as they grow, look, recruitment's the great correlation between getting them great people, and they grow, and you grow with them. So that's what I sort of try to remind myself of. But look, if I can put on some extra staff internally, we're going to do that to create more ground, service more ground. That's what we're actually doing right now. So
yeah, mate, that's awesome.
But it's sort of like the other thing, and I don't know if this is like you've got to run your own race. Like you can look at all these examples, and I think I learned this over the 7 years. Is you look at some guy that you worked with, or girl, and they're flying. They've got 30 people, and they've opened a new office with a big shining light that spins around or something. And you think, gee, they've done well. What the hell am I doing? I'm here with my 2 staff, and but I don't know. Everyone's on their own journey. You can't. I think that's inspirational, and if that motivates you, yeah, look at that. But everyone's on their own journey, so don't beat yourself up that you haven't got the fluoro sign and the new building and stuff,
And the light that spins.
Yeah, you got to have the light that spins.
Okay. That's on the order, is it? Yeah, I do, mate. I think, what you're highlighting is that sort of saying that, comparison is a thief of joy, which is really, and I'm glad you raised that, because everyone does look externally to, and this is, whether you're in a leadership role, whether you're a business owner, everyone's so different, and everyone has so many different priorities and what brings them joy and what motivates them and what demotivates them. I think if we spend so much time looking externally at other people, looking at their accolades and their sort of Facebook or social media reel, we can very quickly get very down and flat about ourselves and, I'm not there yet.
Yes.
And I think it's a timely reminder, particularly at the moment where, run your own race, stop, do some reflection work and actually work out what's important to you, and then have that as your North Star and let that. So once you're really clear on what's important to you, not the dude you worked with 10 years ago who's got 30 staff and a twisty light in their hallway, what's important to you and what motivates you, and what does what does a great life look like for you in 3 to 5 years, and let that fuel you, as opposed to, trying to catch up to somebody else.
Yeah, I think you're right. And look, you may want a 10-person business, but get that North Star or what you refer to, you work towards that, and then things happen organically, right? I mean, you do hire someone, you may have intentions to have 8, 12, 13, 15-person business and lifestyle, like you said, that suits you and the family, but you may acquire some staff that actually look to grow that further, and that's, that was never part of the plan, but I mean, you'll go on that journey if it's presented, and it's presented in the right fashion, I suppose. So I suppose you have a bit of a goal, a bit of an idea, but then be prepared to change and adapt, because it could go in a different direction entirely. So that's 100%. Having a bit of you've got the reins, but you can sort of let them sort of loose at times and see where it goes. And I think that's like employees, and that's what they want, right? A bit of free rein, not everyone, but I think that's certainly we get a lot of candidates coming to us wanting to leave businesses for that reason, because they're held too tight, they can't explore opportunities that they're staring them in the face, and that business won't support them. It's against the grain, but I think if strategic planning is good, but a little bit of fuzz on the side where you can go and pivot. If someone in business spotted an opportunity, by all means, if they're the right person,
Absolutely, mate. I want to get your take on the current market. Like, what do you think's happening at the moment? Like, I mean, I'll let you say it in your own words. Like, what's your take on the current market, and where do you think things are going over the next sort of 12 to 18 months?
God, I suppose if any industries have done well out of COVID, I suppose the whole talent industry has definitely increased on the back of it. So we get crystal ball. Have you got one? You got one there, Josh?
No, I don't, mate.
But look, I suppose if you look at it from an individual company point of view that's in this sector, there's buoyant opportunities. Most of the clients we deal with it from whether it's mining, geotech, TMR space. It's all the urban sector is going crazy. So they're all busy. So the talent problem is clearly being discussed in board meetings on a monthly basis, weekly basis at management level. So and look, you pay the price for the times when it was quieter, and I suppose that's the tier one model is, from my perspective, they hire recruitment teams when it's busy. Like I get seek alerts for recruitment advisors, and I think during that 2020 there was like no ads for any, but then the trickle started coming, and there's ads from every walk of life, every type of business you can imagine looking for talent acquisition stuff. But this is the problem. You're right. Talent goes up and down, but that's not. if you're a business SME, medium-sized, large, like it should be there's going to be ups clearly, but if you're consistent with your approach over the whole time, with about recruiting, acquiring talent, talking to talent, even when you don't even need anyone, your managers should have something in their KPIs that they're actually engaging people about their careers, future talent, what they're going to do with themselves. Because you can't just ride like that. It's just, it doesn't work. Because when you need someone, everyone, like this market now, everyone's chasing everyone. So, but if you were chipping away over the last few years and kept good records, whether that's, an official database, be on the size of your business, you've got people to follow up with and people to call, and relationships. Look, the good people are working, they're occupied, they've got their head down, they're potentially getting a pay rise from their current employer now because they're valued, or they got it 6 months ago because they knew they were going to get poached. So those little relationships need to be consistent. Consistent through the whole time. And it depends on the size of your business, whether you hire lots of recruiters internally or you're managing that with your staff or your managers. But I'd just say keep consistent. And then you've got and I say to my clients, like, you're hunting for certain sectors. Like we talked about the urban sector with civil engineering or 12B designers. Like, you're hunting in a frenzied pool that's red and there's sharks floating around everywhere. The graduate, you've got to bring in you've got to be looking at bringing in that fresh, there's fresh people. Yes, that takes training and time, but there's nothing better than an employee that's been trained and ingrained in the way you do things. You've got to be, that's as consistent as that recruitment process I talked about. Level, bring in, depending on your size, your 1 graduate a year, your 3, your 5, depending on how big you are. But I think that's, you just got to be doing that.
Yeah, mate. 100%. Like, I think, so I just want to come back to, something you said, like in terms of, so, the clients that you're talking to at the moment who are like, talking to you every Sunday saying we need staff, are they, what's their view? Or like, you'd be talking to heaps of people in the market across different sectors. I appreciate that, but what's the general sentiment? Like, are things going to be insane for the next, like in terms of workload, work on, that sort of stuff, next 12 and 24 months? What's the sort of horizon?
24 months. I mean, everyone's 2022, it's not slowing down, right?
Yep.
I mean, the work is going to be consistent and you can't really see much of a slowdown. Although, I suppose some sectors are always going to be different. Building services, I noticed, is not as, it's a bit fluctuating, that sort of industry, but the majority of the others, and look, the Brisbane's got a great feel about it. Lots of developers from the southern states, are here now hunting, for projects. We've got that little leeway from Sydney and Melbourne pricing, from whether it's commercial or residential. So, certainly even in the building we're in the city right now, there's 2 developers, and these are in the urban sector that have positioned staff here now, and are just looking to acquire land to develop, so, and that grows into the Olympic story, 2032. You'll be competing in that, won't you, Josh?
Yeah, mate. 5 events actually. Yeah.
That's just that goodwill, that good feel in the background that's gonna drive that sort of buzz. So if you're in Southeast Queensland with this sector, it's good times ahead, isn't it?
Yeah. And so to people who are, so I'm going to pick your brains a bit in terms of hints and tips. So for people who are considering making a move, moving around, that sort of thing, what would you recommend? How should they go about that process? How do they get the very best outcome for themselves? Because obviously it's, I imagine, without putting words into your mouth, it's an employee market at the moment where you and I even talked to each other, it was probably 6 to 8 months ago, and you said that there was bidding wars happening for really good people, and the salary just kept going up until the best man won kind of thing. What would you say to people who are thinking about moving? How would you approach that process? How would you get the best outcome?
Yeah, look, it is the best time, and this was what it's the best time to move. If you are really looking for something different or clearly a different job in the same industry or pivoting or, yeah, this is the time to do it. So I think there's some hook. Clearly, you've got to be like what you do with your clients is what is that? What does that look like for you? Like, what job do you want to be in? And maybe it's not the next job, it's the one after, to get exposure to an industry or whatever. But I would look at it very strategically and say that I want to be, I've identified certain businesses that do what I'm really interested in, and go about approaching those business. Like, you've got to have some things like your LinkedIn profile's got to be professional. It's all the basic stuff, right? I mean, the CV these days is falling behind. I mean, I think sometimes we place people and because they're sort of known in the industry, I think, we didn't even actually get an updated CV. They didn't even need it. They knew he was working at ABC. They knew he was working at Alaska. They'd seen him at events. A bit of a LinkedIn profile sort of gave that. So have a professional presence as far as you go. Your network's going to potentially be that link into that business. But just be strategic about who you want to work for, and not even the perfect actual. I don't know. I suppose you're an engineer and you're climbing the ladder, right? Senior principal. But just think about maybe the businesses you really want to be part of, and approach those businesses with an open book about, I've targeted your business. I'd really like to come in and talk to you. And I don't know a business that wouldn't engage someone that was relevant to what they're doing at the moment, right?
So you're saying even don't worry about the fact that they might not have an ad out or they might not be actively recruiting. Just go and do the North Star thing, work out who you really want to work with or the values that business has, and do a bit of research, talk to your network about who might meet those needs. And then what you're sort of saying, just go and
approach them. Well, in your network, like you would know 2 degrees of separation, someone that works at this business, you'd approach your colleague and say, can I get an introduction, or can I have Bob's number at whatever ABC company, and reach out to him on LinkedIn, send him a well-worded email, and clearly, you see what ads or whatever they're looking for, but just approach them. I think businesses that are forward-thinking, the ones that you probably want to work with, are going to be open in this market to meeting you. And if there's not a role right now, there's probably one coming up in 2 months. I mean, that's what the clients are saying. And if someone was that narrow-minded that they wouldn't want to meet a great civil engineer or whatever you do, a construction advisor, in 3 months they will be needing one. So I'd approach it like that, and I think you'd only get success from doing it. A lot of people are just, I suppose it depends on the stage of your career and your maturity, but waiting for an ad to appear, on Seek or something that fits you, you just got to get in the queue, don't you, for that as well? Like, jump through the process. Use your network. The network is the key to introduction, and
don't be shy.
Don't be shy. I mean, clearly big companies have structure and process around recruitment, but I think the same process can apply to relationship business. And,
exactly.
And the line manager, the technical line manager, will always be, they're the ones that are going to get pulled over the coals if they don't meet budget. So if they don't have the personnel, so if you can get in front of them and it's clearly relevant, they're going to get you in front of HR or whatever you need to do. And look, be transparent. And recruiters are viable. In this market, you can't do it yourself. So I think from an employee point of view, if you're looking for that opportunity, you may see that a recruiter has a special relationship or an exclusive relationship with a certain client, and they promote that brand. And
which you do,
that's sort of our model, is more about partnership. So you just got to do a bit of research, and then it's the rewards for you, and that getting that job or that is highly rewarding. So you've got to do a bit of work, a bit of research, a bit of time, and you know, and the rewards will be there. So,
mate, I love that. I love that advice. Question for you. So this is fresh because my wife's recently, she's about to change jobs in a similar sector to the one, you know, the engineering construction sector.
Yeah.
And there was a point at which, you know, a written contract was sent across. My wife was like, I was really hoping for some more money, and I was hoping for a few more of these different things.
Did you do this?
I don't think she made that hand gesture, no. But I said, well, just ask. And the response was, well, I can't do that. Like, what if they say no? Or what if... And so, and I'm just using that because it's a fresh example, but like, I imagine that would go through so many people's heads, is that this is the opportunity. If I'm gonna move, this is the opportunity to negotiate the best terms for myself as possible. Like, what advice do you have for people in that negotiation space where you probably... So like, I do a lot of sort of pattern and belief work with my clients around, you know, the people-pleasing part of your personality doesn't want to ask those kind of questions because you want them to like you, and maybe I'm feeling a little bit not good enough to ask for those conditions of employment, or, you know, an extra 5 or 10 grand. What's your advice in this market to people who are a little bit timid about going into the negotiation space?
It's an awesome question because it's happening every negotiation. It's, I mean, we have, you know, everyone is different, right? So we've had one today that signed up for what they were on already because they were desperate to leave. That was their target company, so they were happy to cross over. So it's a balancing act because people generally know the market. You know, there's a bit of a range clearly. So, but look, your advice to your wife, and where, you know, if you're not happy or satisfied with the package, if it's clearly go back in a professional way and say, look, it's a fantastic offer you made. I'm really happy with the contract, but I was looking for 125. I was looking for 140 to make the move across, and justify the reason. And if it's in that sort of general ballpark, I mean, we've had candidates that have been on, you know, let's say 100 for round numbers, and they're looking to increase that to 160 or something like that. They're looking for, and it's, you know, purely down to they're trying to maybe take advantage of the market.
Yep.
Our job as recruiters, you know, you've got to try to deal with that pretty early in the piece before it even goes that far. But and if you're going a bit over the top, like you know, that can really sour a relationship. Like, it can be a great point. You know, clearly the businesses are desperate for those resources, so they will bend and they will pay slightly over the odds. Doesn't mean you'll get a pay rise for the next 3 years after you join. So that's the other factor. But if you were a bit, if that money thing came through as the number one driver, it can, it may not be. It can sour a relationship, can't it? And they may relent and give you this pay rise that
they won't forget.
They won't forget, and you'd be wanting to. They'll be managing you pretty hard for that, and that may end. You know, that relationship may end quicker because they're satisfied with this. You know, did they get the 160k engineer, or are you still really 130k engineer? What you should have been paid. So it's a balancing act, but just clearly ask, and it's a great time to take a new experience in life and get a pay rise. Like that you may, because we know that the bigger companies, there's tiered systems, and fast-moving medium SMEs that are growing and can actually give you look. The SMEs don't pay worse than big companies, do they? They often pay actually better. So
I've heard that.
So that'd be my advice. Always professional, but clearly ask for a reasonable increment without taking the mickey.
So step back. If you really want more, don't be afraid to ask, but ask in an appropriate way with some kind of backing or justification, and see what comes back.
Yeah,
but also,
right. I mean, you've got to always ask yourself: are you in this market? Most companies will be open to that.
Yes.
will put their best foot forward, but we all know the game of negotiation. Will it be? There's always 5 or 8 to round that up. But it's a balancing act, and it's up to you whether the company you're with. You may be at a point where you're 10, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of going back to them, but yeah, politely ask, always professional, and you'll I'd say you'd be a fair chance of getting a reasonable increment.
Yeah,
right?
good.
Yeah.
Mate, last question for you before we kind of wrap up, I guess. Well, not, this is actually, I lied. I've got 2 more questions for you. But to business owners or companies that are looking to, so we talked about this right back at the start,
Yes,
companies that are looking to position themselves above the rest, strongly in this market. Obviously, it's an employee market. You have to be doing things differently to attract really good talent and positioning your team or your business above the other 150 people that are looking for engineers or construction individuals. Like, what are some tips for business owners or business leaders to position themselves above their competitors?
Yeah, look, as we said earlier, it's got to be a consistent approach. Now, to suddenly be a business that just, I don't know, look, maybe just post jobs when they need people. Like, this is, you've got to be constantly looking for people. You've got to be consistent from now on. We all need people that, this is with your resource. What's happening in a year? We're going to break into different sectors. Start looking at people. Start expressions of interest. Basics, do you have I'd say you've got to set up an ecosystem. I'd call it a talent ecosystem. Basics. Do you have a careers page on the website with jobs? A lot of companies don't do that. They just post on Seek. So all your candidates' eyes are going onto Seek and looking at your job with all these other ones.
Yep.
You've got to advertise. If you want to advertise on Seek, fine, but that's got to be you want people coming back to your website to get to know your staff. So I'd be doing that. Your referral program. Are you incentivizing your staff, whether it's financial or maybe a gift voucher? Who do you know out there from previous business? Everyone knows the industry. Utilize that. So, and you build that ecosystem around social media presence, but not always just we're hiring, like the most boring sort of job alert thing you can see, but telling a story about your best designer or your foreman or your front, your office manager or anyone, telling the story about people is what people will want to join the company for.
I love
and
that.
Your projects, some unique subject matter, people. We do engineering and stuff, but look, here's a shot from last Friday when Jimmy burnt some sausages on the barbecue, right? I mean, that's real, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's a human element. It's a human factor. It helps people see they can picture themselves working there and being the person burning snags on the barbie.
That's it. And the big thing, I've seen it with a company we have partnered with for 5 years. They made some pretty key hires in the business, and then we noticed a bit of a cascade effect where people started to recognise that Bill Bloggs had joined this company, or Josh Stone had just arrived, and it's people will notice that in the industry, right? Josh has joined, CNC engineering. What's going on? They look like a good bunch, and then it's that internal business where you're saying to Josh that's just started, Josh, who do you know in the industry? If you can empower your staff, it's just 10. If you've got 10 staff. Do you know 3 guys or 3 girls that are in the design space? Oh, I know 1. You know 2. So you've already got 13 people that are in your phone book that are actually verified performers. That could solve the problem right there. And as well as I know, if you've got a relationship with someone and invite them, look, I'm really keen to catch up. We're expanding here. And look, whether it's you or someone you might know, you're talking to the person, great to catch up with you, you can tell me about it, and then you can, how are you? Are you happy where you're at? It's just, you don't have to do anything new, and I think you have a basic ecosystem of talent with those things. websites, social media presence. But then the people within the business, you're only a couple, you're literally probably one phone call away from the best people in the industry. But people just have this default sort of, you know, if they're not empowered to do it, it's just, oh, you know, put an ad out and be disappointed. That's what's going to happen. If you're open for a miracle, just in people applying for random jobs, you'll be waiting for a while to grow your business towards the North Star.
Yeah, that's right. So it sounds like, mate, to kind of summarise that sort of piece of advice, and people probably don't want to hear this, but it's not a short-term thing. It's actually being quite strategic about how you position your team and your business on LinkedIn, on the website. Think about really how you can portray the personal, the people aspect of your business to the marketplace, and then obviously encourage your staff and your team to talk to people in their network and empower them to kind of reach into their network about potential roles or opportunities. And I think that's important to recognise, because if you are looking to grow this year, you know, the best time to start doing this stuff was maybe a year ago. The second best time is to start tomorrow, in terms of thinking about that. If we do want to put on 10 people in the next, you know, we've just listened to an awesome podcast with Josh and Michael, and they reckon there's at least 24 months plus of awesome work ahead of us. So let's put some plans in place now to really showcase the people in our business. Do the snag on the Barbie thing, get behind the scenes and do some you know, quirky videos and that kind of stuff to really showcase the capability of your business, the people in your business, but also you know, what it's like to work there, sort of behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, that's it. And look, sometimes it takes someone to pull it together. So everyone's busy, the directors are busy, the managers, like, you can all contribute, but maybe there is someone whether they can pull, you know, someone's got to post this stuff. Maybe you look to outsource it, you know. Like, you know, I know you're big on that. You could get someone to outsource your social media, give them the content to post. I think your staff have got to take responsibility for reaching out to their networks. Why wouldn't you? If you're passionate about working, why wouldn't you want to bring in someone, you know, you rate and respect professionally to come and work there? So that's got to be a little bit of a KPI for people, I think, to deliver. And then, you know, there are different approaches with what we do with businesses, from you know, to become a partner, and, you know, different pricing models where we can do that. There's running around, there's reaching out to people, there's target lists, you know, to reach out, but there's options out there to get someone to maybe tie the whole ecosystem together and drive it and keep people accountable. Because, you know, on projects you get focused on the delivery, and you know, you're still waiting for that miracle to happen on scene. So you've got to, there's options to sort of tie that together and drive it and keep it constant, but you'll get the results. It's right there in front of you.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Love it. Final question for you.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually prepared you for this, so I apologise in advance.
What's
so?
Numbers? Is that
Not sure. Do you want to have a crack at that? If you think back over your career journey to date, and you had the opportunity to go back in time and have a beer or a coffee with the, you know, let's call it the 10-year younger version of yourself, what advice would you give the 10-year younger version of yourself, knowing what you know today?
Yeah, just I think you got to back yourself. That'd probably be I think, look, that would be the main thing probably. I think if I was going to go back. And look, starting the business, I hadn't done it at that stage, but back yourself would be the main thing. Yes, it's self-confidence in it to do things, and fear and self-confidence is sort of this, you know,
tug of war.
Yeah, you start the business. I've started the business, but then fear starts creeping in when I see the people walking there with getting their fortnightly salaries and stuff, and you want to creep back to that. And let's say three things: self-confidence, the comfort zones. That's an interesting place, because what you want to do is creep back to the employee. You know, go back to the regular salary that's comfortable. So So it's sort of, it would be about backing yourself and being aware of fear and actually what am I scared of here. And that can be down to simple things in business, like reaching out to that client that you don't have a connection with or a loose connection. And you know, and that's just, sometimes it's just fear that's just ridiculous, because what's the worst thing that's going to happen?
Exactly.
Like, it's just like, and that's, there's a few things, but it's more around that, mate. It sort of revolves around those sort of things.
Mate, beautiful.
What's the worst thing that can happen?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mate, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you today. So thanks for your time.
Hopefully there's some value in there. I've enjoyed it. It's good, mate. I've enjoyed talking to you.
And where can people follow along your journey? LinkedIn the best place?
Connect with me. Michael Berger. Talent Blueprint is the business.
Yep.
You can send out my details, yeah?
Easy.
320 Adelaide Street. Come and say hello face to face. I won't wear a mask. I promise.
Oh.
I will, sorry.
Not even going there. All right, mate. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day.
Yeah, same to you, mate. Cheers.